Hello YouTube, Sam here from youtube.com/onlivegamer for the new Boston, and in this tutorial we're going to continue working on the car program. Now you can see here that I've organized our code and commented it so that we can see what each part of it does. Now you can minimize them and maximize them by using these buttons right here. And if you remember from the last tutorial, we have name, color, and show info. And then I just organized the button click events into one little group right here. And then here's our form 1 load. Now let's go ahead and add some stuff to our car class that's going to be inherited by other classes. But first let's get rid of some of this white space here. Okay, so now let's come down below overwrite to string, and we're going to create something that will set and get the number of doors. Now this is going to be a property called number of doors. So we'll create a variable up here that's going to store that. So we'll make it private because we're going to use the property to indirectly access the value, and we'll be able to set the value. So number of doors as integer. So now that we have our number of doors value there, let's just go ahead and add a comment that says tells us what we're going to be doing. So number of doors property, so gets and sets number of doors. So now what we're going to do is declare our property. So public property, and we'll just call it number of doors. So number of doors as integer. And when we press enter, let's see, yes, this is not case sensitive, so let's go ahead and call it property number of doors. Or just to make it a little bit easier to read, let's leave this one to number of doors and set this one to int number of doors, so that we know which data type it is. So now we have our number of doors property, and we will, here, let's do this. We will add our get and our set. So we'll type get, and you can see that it adds end get and the set for us and the end of the property. So what do we want to get? We want to get the number of doors. So we'll return int number of doors. Now we have our set function, or our set method. So if you know, cars can only have, or at least like normal cars that you see driving around, they have either 2 doors all the way up to 5 doors. So let's just add an if statement to keep out any other values besides 2 to 5. So if, and now the value passed to set that will set the number of doors is called value. So if value is greater than or equal to 2, and if value is greater than or equal to 5, so, or less than or equal to 5, then what do we want to do? We want to set the number of doors to that value. So int number of doors equals value. Okay, so now that we have created this, you can see that if the value is anything else, it's not going to set it. So let's just tell the user that it has not been set if any other value has been entered. So we will just type else, and we will type messagebox.show, and we will say the number of doors you have entered is not valid. Okay, so now that we've created this property right here, number of doors, let's go ahead and come back over to our form1.vb code, and we'll add another button. So we'll go ahead, drag this button on here. We will set the text to doors, and we'll go ahead and set the name to button set doors, and we'll double click on that to open up the click event, and we'll just get rid of that white space right there so it's grouped with our button clicked events. So let's go ahead and look and see what we did up here. Well, you can see that we used an input box. So we'll type default car dot, and let's access the property number of doors. You can see that it has the finger and the little piece of paper because it is a property instead of an actual variable like car name. So default car number of doors equals, and what we're going to need to do is convert what they type in to an integer. So we'll just type ctype, and now what we need to do is type input box. Please enter the number of doors. Okay, so when you call input box, it's going to return a string value to you or to the caller. So basically what we're putting right here for the first argument is the string that is returned by input box. So we're going to be converting a string to a type integer. Okay, so now it will set the number of doors, and basically when you call default car dot number of doors and use the equals sign, it's going to call the set method, and it's going to use this right here as the value that it uses for that. So let's go ahead and run this, but first let's go up here and we need to change the to string. So let's get rid of this message box right here, and we'll come back here to all cars, and for our override to string, let's go ahead and show the number of doors. So we'll do that just before the car speed. So we'll type number of doors, and then we will add default, or we'll add number of doors, and then we'll just add a new line, and then we'll add another and sign. Okay, so now when we call toString, it will give us all of this stuff back. So we'll go ahead and set the name of it to, or let's do a challenger, and we'll go ahead and click OK. We'll set the color to black, and we'll set the number of doors to 4. So when we show info, we get challenger SRT8, black, and number of doors is equal to 4. Now if we set the number of doors to something like 7 and click OK, we get a message box that says the number of doors you have entered is not valid. So we'll go ahead and try that again. We'll do 4 doors right there and click show info, and we get all the info about our car. So if you haven't typed this code in, I highly suggest you do that, because you will learn a lot from typing it in yourself and making changes to it. And then once you've done that, go ahead and move on to the next tutorial, and thanks for watching.